So today we're meeting up with somebody who was born to be a Somerset player because he's got the name Somerset in his first name. So it's Derek John Somerset Taylor who's joining us today, the wicketkeeper from the glory years. Derek, lovely to see you in Somerset,
Thanks,
sitting in a chilly morning in front of a nice warm fire at Blackmore Farm at Cannington.
Cannington, correct.
So what's it feel like to be back here?
Oh, well, we always like coming back. We haven't been back for 3 years, obviously, COVID. And so we've all been looking forward to it and lucky enough to bring our daughter and grandson with us this year.
Brilliant. How do we come to have Somerset in your name, Derek? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, well, it was mentioned in my benefit brochure, but it's a made-up story. The real truth is that it's from my grandfather's side on my mother's side, and her father was Henry Somerset Wicks. And one of his brothers had the name, but prior to that, we don't know where it came from. So just have to blame my great-grandfather, who was Henry Rowley Wicks. But there was no trace of Somerset before that. So it's a bit of a mystery in that respect.
You said you've done a bit of family history background with the genealogy side of things,
Sure.
and you maybe have tenuous links with Casey Aldridge, because Aldridge is a family name.
Well, that's right. That's on my mother's side. Same part of the family, but on her mother. My grandmother was an Aldridge from Gloucester, and she had lots of brothers, sisters, aunts, cousins, and nieces, and they were all over Gloucestershire, Tewkesbury, and every Stroud, Gloucester, and I noticed that Casey's from Bristol, so not too far away.
Oh, interesting, isn't it? Might be another one in the family coming through.
You never know. Yeah. Haven't had the chance to meet him yet, but hopefully one day.
Good. Tell me, how did you get into cricket in the first place? You were born in Amersham, weren't you?
That's right.
And so, how does it come about that you started with cricket in the first
well,
place?
I don't know. My brother and I liked playing cricket from a very young age, and the local cricket ground was just down the road, Amersham Hill Cricket Club, which is no longer. And from there, my father and mother liked sport as well. But and I had an uncle Derek, who was unfortunately killed in the war, and he was a good sportsman, cricket, tennis, soccer, and so that's where it came from, I think. But and then we progressed through. We then joined Chesham Cricket Club. And then on to Buckinghamshire, young amateurs,
yeah.
Buckinghamshire minor counties, and Michael went to Nottingham when he was 18, I think, 19, and then it was 2 years later I joined Surrey at 21.
Let's just go back to you before then. You played football a bit, didn't you, in your younger days?
Well, until I got injured when I was 19. But I played. Yeah, I played for the local Amersham town, and Michael played in Nottingham as well, and had a trial at Vicarage Road. Didn't go any further, but there was at the stage even then that you had to decide soccer or cricket really. That Jimmy Standen, you may remember, he's a bit older than us,
goalkeeper.
But he lived at Chorley Wood, just down the road, and I think he did both, and I think he's the only guy to win a FA Cup medal and a Championship medal.
64, he won the FA Cup, didn't
like
he?
Yeah,
I think it was.
And he Worcester when he played for Worcester.
He did indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
So you've remained a Watford Football Club fan. Who would just talk about one or two of the names when you were growing up? Who's sticking in your brain?
Oh, at Watford.
Yeah.
Oh well, Cliff Holton.
Cliff Holton
was the number one. He's still a big name there, really, although he's been gone a long time now. And they were all sort of local guys, and there was an Australian actually, Frank Mitchell, played for Worcestershire, played a bit for Warwickshire,
right.
Played in the Warwickshire League and Birmingham League, but he played for a number of clubs, including Watford. And then, Pat Jennings, he started at Watford, and a number of others right up to he got in the Premier League.
Yeah. Let's then move on to your cricket. You played minor county cricket with Buckinghamshire for several seasons, didn't you?
Yes, I first played when I was 17, and then in the minor county championship I played from 18 until I went to Surrey.
And I think, got a funny feeling you played a game against Johnny Harris, didn't you? one of your first games.
Yeah, John Harris was playing for Suffolk.
For Suffolk, you're absolutely right.
He started running from the sight screen. That to play forward in the end. No. Yeah, John Harris. There was a few old timers playing in the minor counties in those days. A guy called Perkins that played for Suffolk.
Yeah.
He played till he's 50 odd, I think. And another guy that played for Kent, Ted Witherden.
Yes.
He ended up at Suffolk, I think. Bill Edrich.
Of course, yeah.
Norfolk. and then Alan Revel played for Berkshire. Played, was at Derbyshire.
Derbyshire, yeah.
Well, he might have played for Leicester as well. I'm not
I
sure.
think he did.
GRJ Roop.
Yeah.
Berkshire, before he joined Surrey, and I can't think of other players that went on to play first class cricket. Not in not long term.
No.
There was the odd one.
Yeah. Now, how did you become involved with Surrey? How did that come about?
Well, basically, Arnold Long was the established wicketkeeper, but they didn't have a professional reserve wicketkeeper, and they basically advertised.
Right.
And at the beginning of '74, it went down pre-season to the Oval with a number of other guys, and I was fortunate enough to be the one that was offered a contract.
So you were obviously then moved to London?
Yes, I had to. That winter, I moved to London to qualify by residence, and that took me through basically to nearly the end of '65.
Right.
So I didn't get a first team game till '66, the university game at the Oval. But then I played in the county championship at the Old Arms Park. That's my county championship debut.
Right, at Cardiff.
On a interesting wicket, rain affected, of course.
Yeah.
And but John Edrich played very well, and we won comfortably in the end.
Who were some of the people that you sort of would have been involved with when you were at Surrey? Was Arthur McIntyre part?
Oh yeah, he was the coach.
Yeah.
Big disciplinarian, and he helped me enormously, and always thanked Arthur for that. And Mickey Stewart, of course, who was a captain, just finished 75 years at the Oval now.
Yeah.
Incredible,
90.
15 to 90.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken to him for a while, but he was the club captain, and of course there was Ken Barrington, John Edrich, and any number of good professionals that also played at Surrey at the time. Even Bernie Constable was the oldest, I think, in those days. He was still there in '64 and '65. He was well in his 40s then. But we sort of lived under the shadow still of the great side of the 50s.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we were always expected to win the championship, whatever. But it did happen the season after I left, '71.
Yeah.
And it's happened a few times since. But in the '60s, well, I think we got to the Gillette Cup final.
Yeah.
And that was about it, I think. But we were always, high up in the championship. But
I was looking at one game that you played in. I think it was the seconds. David Gibson got a 9 for, or 7 for, 9 for.
Well, I always rated David Gibson.
Yeah.
And because he could bowl in swingers and out swingers, and he bowled them very well. You couldn't really tell which way it was going if you just go into bat.
Yeah.
I remember playing once in a second team game and against Hampshire, and Gordon Greenwich was in his teens, I'd say, and it was at Cranley, and it was green as a bowling green, and he gave him 2 outers, and the in-swinger, they all fell over. But nobody would have played it, let alone Gordon at 17. No. So he was very, very good bowler. Unfortunately, not with us anymore.
No.
But it was Ronnie Tyndall. Played with Jimmy
Chelsea,
Greaves at Chelsea, West Ham. Man, he ended up in Australia.
Yeah, did he?
Yes, he coached in Perth.
Right.
Soccer mainly. I met him there. He came over to the East Coast for a coaching trip back in the '90s.
Right.
Yeah. Saw him then. And David Sydenham was another one.
Yeah.
He could bowl in swingers and out swingers, and just a bit like Budgie in as much that he held the ball up for the away swinger and down for the in swinger
Right.
on his approach.
So you knew which way.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So
Let's move on to how you came to come to Somerset. I mean, obviously you've been at the Oval from '64 to '69.
That's right.
Probably had 10 Champo games,
About
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then how did you come to make the move?
Well, I was keen to obviously play first class cricket more, and I had a number of opportunities from, not a number, but I mean a number of other counties interested. But I never actually got a contract anywhere through different circumstances. I remember I was coaching in South Africa, and Middlesex wanted me to join because they said John Murray wasn't going to play anymore, but of course he did. So that didn't come to fruition. And so, excuse me. In the end, I got an approach from Somerset in '69.
Right.
And I went to, that's the first time I went to Taunton.
Really?
August, '69. And met the captain, Mr. Langford.
Langy, yeah.
Robbo was in attendance, I think.
Yes.
And Richard Robinson was the secretary then. And signed on. Well, I think they wanted me to play at the Western Festival.
Right.
But because Surrey were could have won the championship that year, they didn't want to release me because of in case Arnold Long got injured. Yeah. So I came back at the beginning of '70. Very cold, April the 1st.
So obviously, when you signed, what sort of a deal would they have given you? Can you remember what that was?
It wasn't that exciting. I signed on to play, but I was guaranteed to play.
Yeah.
But it was actually, the annual income was less than Surrey 2's.
Really?
Yeah. But with, if we happened to win a game, or and appearance money and things, it was more or less, I think, worked out about the same, really.
And what sort of contract would you have been signed on?
Oh, I think I had a 3 or 4 year contract.
You did, right? Okay.
Yeah, so that was good from that point of view.
So you then moved down.
Oh, I was coaching abroad, and then on April the 1st, I reported to Taunton. Right. And we. I had moved into one of the supporters club's houses. Yeah, with our signing from Sussex.
Alan Arthur Jones.
Alan Arthur Jones, yes, mine host in Greenway Road.
Alan Arthur Jones. You shared a house with Jonah
for about 6 months, I think.
Right.
At the maximum. No, we shouldn't be cut. He told me he was a cordon bleu cook.
Did he? I bet he wasn't.
Didn't quite work out that way.
No, and obviously, Closey was. You were there before Closey because Langy was your first captain, wasn't he?
Well, actually, the last game of 1970 was Yorkshire at Hull.
Right.
We they had a few days off, and then Hull for Saturday, Monday, Tuesday, and then Harrogate on the Sunday. So it was a bit of a tour, and we lost quite comfortably on the Tuesday morning, I think. But that turned out to be Brian Closey's last game.
Really?
Yeah.
And did we know he was coming to Somerset then?
No, not then. No, definitely not, because Tom Cartwright had also joined along with Alan Jones and Maurice Hill and Stephen Hallam. Steve Wilkinson and Hallam were qualifying, I think, and so there was at least 6 new players for that start of that season, and then 71. Well, I was away again playing in the Currie Cup that winter, so then we learnt after Christmas that Closey was coming.
Right.
And that's also when Kerry O'Keefe joined for a couple of seasons. Yeah.
Right.
So we had the start of 71 was fantastic because it was very dry.
Yeah. Not
particularly warm, but and the wickets were conducive for spin, and we got off and we won 2 or 3 games in May straight off. Very good games as well.
Did you like keeping to spinners?
Yes. Well, Langy was captain.
Yeah.
And he gave Kerry every opportunity, and I think got 47 wickets in May.
Right.
So and that together with Tom and Joan. Oh well, I'm trying to think who the other opening bowler was. I should know, because Roy Palmer had left in '70.
Yeah, and Ken had gone in '69.
Ken had gone in '69. God, I get told off for that. Who was the other opening bowler in '71?
I'm just trying to think.
I just can't think of it. Well, Budgie was. Yeah, Budgie was there.
Yeah.
I suppose he must have opened with Jonah, and then Tom would have come on first change, and then Kerry and Lange. So it was, quite a good attack, really. But then the rain started, and we still did all right. I mean, it was a good. We got the semi-final of the Gillette as well that year against Lancashire at Taunton, full house. So that was. I remember that game well. Unfortunately, we lost. But coming from like last in '69 to a Gillette Cup final within 18 months was a pretty good performance.
But people have always liked their one-day cricket at Taunton, haven't they?
Oh yeah, well particularly the Sunday League and the Gillette Cup. But
because you played obviously before the one day, before the Sunday League came in.
Yes.
Gillette came in '63, Sunday League '69, I think.
Correct.
Didn't it?
Yeah, and then the Benson Hedges started in '70, didn't it?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was '55, so
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically the same, wasn't it?
Yeah, very much so.
And we did pretty well in the Benson Hedges over the years, and then by the time. '73 wasn't a great season, I don't think, but '74 we had all the young superstars.
Yeah, you did.
So Lord Botham and Sir Vivian.
And what was it like when they came into the dressing room? I mean, I can't imagine they ever came with sort of shy, retiring violence.
No. Well, actually, Vivian was. I met Vivian in at Bath in '73.
Right. Yeah.
Because he'd come over from the Caribbean and was playing for Lansdowne.
Yeah.
And when we played at Bath, he came down as 12th man. And he was very quiet. But shortly afterwards, met the Lord. And he wasn't as shy after that. But but Ian was always very exuberant. I remember him playing pre-season, and he was a very confident young man. And everybody knows the Ian Botham story, don't they? So we went from strength to strength then, and along with Vic and Peter and Phil Slocum, and they were the main three, and Jerry Lloyds, of course.
Yeah.
I think he came the year after '75, perhaps.
Yeah.
And then, but Closey was still playing. I mean, I never forget. I think it was. It must have been '77, and we played one of our first championship games at Hove, and after the first day's play, I was with Budgie and Tony Gregg, who was captain then.
Yeah.
And he said to Budgie and I, "I'm looking for an opening batsman," and we looked along the bar, and there he was. Don't be vague, have a Haig. Big DB Close.
Yeah.
Sure, he's the best player he can pick. And 2 weeks later, Greggy picked him. But I mean, he did all right. But I mean, the thing was, he was 46, and it's atrocious, really, what happened at Old Trafford in the dark with Edrich and Close.
Yeah.
No helmets, dark, and the fastest bowlers in the world.
Yeah.
Bowling 4 or 5 bounces and over.
Yeah.
I mean, it just wouldn't be allowed to happen these days.
No, it wasn't.
No helmets, nothing.
No.
But Closey just kept chesting them off, which he did. Well, that's right. After that game, we were playing a Gillette Cup game against Warwickshire at Edgbaston, and I went to see him because we travelled up from Somerset, I suppose, and he was in his room, like, covered from here in bruises.
Bruises, yeah.
So I said, "Are you going to play tomorrow?" He said, "Of course I can, lad." And we performed terribly. We bowled out for a low 150 or something, and Closey got 70 on. So everybody felt embarrassed, I think. And of course, Warwickshire won. But, oh no, very brave.
Yeah, and he drew that side together, didn't he, really, that Rosie took on?
Yeah, he did. But, look, I mean, Closey did. He was an extraordinary bloke, but he also did some extraordinary things, particularly in one-day games. I think we were playing at Taunton against Gloucester once, and we got 2 or 3 wickets out, one thing and another, and he then put Merv on. Excuse me, Merv. And I don't know if he got a wicket or not. I can't remember, but he got a wicket somewhere, so he thought he put Merv. But then we lost the initiative, and then Mike Proctor got into, because Mike Proctor was a great player of spinners, and poor old Kerry kept going out the ground. So game over. So he did a few crazy things in one-day games, but of course he always liked to attack, and that that won him a lot of friends, and he was popular with everyone. Really.
Fielded pretty close to the bat, didn't
he? Well, he was never far away from me.
I was going to say, you must have had quite a lot to do with
especially if we were on top.
Yeah,
absolutely. I remember. Yeah, on so many occasions when it's intimidating for the batsman.
Yeah. And then obviously, Closey went, and Rosie stepped into the job. Didn't
That's right.
In 78.
Yeah. Well, there were a number of us were sort of in line for the captaincy, and then but the club chose Brian, which on hindsight was of course the best decision that could have happened, because
was it at the time?
Sorry.
At the time, was it, or what did you think?
Well, it proved to be.
Yeah.
Fair enough. He was. It was obviously changing the guard. And from a personal point of view, I was older than the rest, apart from Merv and Budgie.
Yeah.
And I would have thought I'd have had a chance, but overall I've got no regrets, and that was the club's decision, and that's what I stood by. And Brian proved to be a very good captain, totally different to Closey, of course. We were very unfortunate not to win in his first year.
Yeah, you were.
Well, we were a bit unlucky in Closey's last year. That was another. But at the same, we lost to the worst side, or the bottom side in the Sunday League at Cardiff, and they'd had the worst chasing record in the league. What did Closey do? Put them in. But anyway, that's by the by. But we should have won that game, and then we'd have broken our duck. But so in '79, we got full revenge.
You did the double, didn't you? Just tell me about that, Derek. I mean, did the fact that you'd lost the year before, because you got beaten by Sussex, didn't you?
Yeah, well, that was ironical as well, because I think we'd already played Sussex 4 times in the. Twice in the Championship, Sunday League and Benson's, and we'd beaten them every time, all 4 games. So I suppose there was an air of overconfidence in that respect. Excuse me. But from memory, Ian and Viv didn't let us down. They both got runs. But Vivian didn't get 100, but I mean, you can't expect him to get 100 every game. But we didn't get a big total, about 220 or something, and then we bowled badly with the new ball to Guion Mendes and John Barclay, who were square of the wicket players, and we bowled short, and they had a flying start, and we got them both out, and Imran and Javid, and we thought we had a chance then. They were about 100 odd for 4, but Paul Parker played very well, and that was it, game over.
Yeah.
So, and then the next year, we got a better score against Northants, and we were pretty confident we could, with Joel as well. Well, Joel would bowled very well then, and we got early wickets, and but Alan Lamb and Jeff Cook played very
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
But then, fortunately, Alan Lamb was stumped.
yeah. By you. Yeah,
Off Vivian.
yeah.
And that was it, game over.
Very nifty bit of keeping, dare I say.
Well,
I've seen the replay
one
of
of
it.
the better ones, shall we say.
Yeah.
Well, it was he hit over a half volley, so always difficult to take. But so that, yeah, I was happy with that. And then that was it. And then, well, we didn't think we'd win the Sunday League because Kent had to beat Middlesex at Canterbury, and but they lost.
Yeah.
And we beat Nottingham pretty comfortably at Trent Bridge. So that was it.
And that was Budgie's last game. At
Hung the
Trent Bridge,
boots up
wasn't it? Hung
over
his
the
boots up,
balcony,
didn't he?
Budge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never saw him for 37 years after that.
Yeah. I mean, you must have some very fond memories of that. The glory years run.
Oh, yes.
Playing with people like Joel and Vivian.
Well, with us, the Australian game was Joel's at Bath was his debut.
Exactly. Yeah.
And well, I personally, I think half the others had never met Joel then.
No.
And you know the Bath Pavilion.
Yeah, indeed.
And his head was above the door.
Yeah.
might help with a few deliveries. And he bowled very well straight away. But all the lads bowled well. And
Budgie did quite well that day, didn't he?
he did. He could always move the ball around at Bath.
Yeah.
And he mesmerised a few of the later order Australians, and got a fifer. And but although I'm sorry to blow my top, but his first wicket was a leg side stumping.
Yeah.
Craig Sargent, the opening batsman. So that got him on his way, and then Ian chipped in, but Greg Chappell got 100, but they only got 200, I think. And then, that was another. This might be cut. No, but we had Closey just had time to get a duck on the first evening, and then there was a reception at the Bath, the Roman Bath.
Yeah, yeah.
And IT Botham, DB Close, and D Breakwell wanted to christen Kerry, who was playing for the Australian team, in the Roman Baths.
Right.
But unfortunately, DB fell over. And the next morning, I had a phone call to Derek Lellam at the hospital. Can you take over? Because I was the vice captain.
Yeah, yeah.
So we never saw him till lunchtime. But we batted very well because Rosie got 100. Well, they all got runs, and he turned up. We were 350 for 3 or 4, and Phil had 50 or 60 as well, I think, and declared the innings closed. He said, "I want to have a go at them before tea and after tea." You know. So, the Aussies ran off, and Slokes and Rosie were still out there. We had to drag them off, but. Anyhow, he came out to field, and after about 10 minutes, he said, "It's no good, lad. I've got to go off again. I'll leave it to you." So, we managed to bowl them out again. Although David Hooks got 100, one of the few hundreds he got in overseas, played very well. But we only had to chase 180, 190, and we won comfortably by about 6 wickets. And Ian and Viv were in at the end, hitting them all round Bath.
That must have been one of your memorable games.
Oh yeah, it was.
To beat the Aussies.
Yeah, that's
First
right.
time I'd ever beaten them, wasn't
Well,
it?
I remember Greg Chappell coming up to me on the second morning. He said, because I tell him about Closey, and he said, "Do you mind if Doug Walters has a substitute fielder?"
Right.
So I said, "Well, for what reason?" He said, "Oh, he's, been up all night playing cards." I said, "I do mind, yes." So he had to go out and field. Well,
Right.
I mean, those were the days, as they say. But he was another one, great player in Australia, and a natural athlete. But it wouldn't happen today anyway, would it?
No, no.
But I suppose the latest comparison would have been the late Andrew Simons.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, indeed.
but that was all brought on by other things as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So there we are.
And one of the things you've not talked about, you talked about the Benson and Hedges, but you actually hold a record, don't you, in Benson and Hedges?
Yes.
Tell us about that, Dan.
Well, last season I played, actually. We were playing Oxford and Cambridge at Taunton in one of the zone games.
Yeah.
And it was a bouncy wicket for Taunton, and they kept nicking it, and I never dropped one for a change. 8 out of 10. Yeah. I think every bowler. Well, Both opened the bowling. I think with Dredgy, of course. I've forgotten Dredgy.
Yeah, Dredgy.
But Dredgy wasn't playing in set. No, he didn't play until. I'm thinking back to what I said earlier.
Yeah, yeah.
But he wasn't there.
No, he wasn't playing then.
No. Dredgy played. He debuted at Bath. He bowled Glenn Turner out on debut.
That was his first wicket.
Yeah, he couldn't believe it, Glenn Turner, like an off break. Anyway, yes. So there was Ian and Colin, and I think Vic played certainly, and Hallam, yeah, and Peter Roebuck. He bowled that. I caught a couple of him. So well, no one's ever caught 8 since.
No.
There's 2 guys got 6 catches and 2 stumpings.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be honest, the way it's played now, how's the wicketkeeper ever going to catch 8?
Yeah, exactly.
They're all on the short boundaries.
Absolutely.
So so that was good. Yeah, well, I didn't realise, but at the time that was the first time a wicketkeeper had ever got a gold medal.
Absolutely.
I remember playing in a game at Street, funny enough, and against Gloucester. That was a Benson Hedges, and I caught the first 3 off Hallam, I think, and Jimmy Folk got 70 odd, and they got about 170, and apart from running Rosie out, we only lost 1 wicket.
Right.
And I did get a mention, but 80 odd not out, but I didn't get the gold medal.
So you got the gold medal for 8 catches.
Yeah, I thought it was Jim Laker, I think. Jim Laker. He mentioned me, but thought I had a chance. Perhaps I shouldn't have run Rosie out. But I can't remember. Oh, close. No, that was the game, because we won by 9 wickets with 5 overs to spare.
Right.
And when I came in, Closey said, "You've got to remember, lad, there's world-class batters waiting in the pavilion to bat, like myself and Vivian." So I said, "Thanks, Brian." Yeah.
Derek, during your years at Somerset, I mean, you obviously played against a lot of really good players who were about at that stage. Who would be a sort of the best bowler that you faced during your playing career?
What fast bowler, spin bowler?
Yeah, fast bowler and spin bowler.
Well, the fastest bowler, well, 2 bowlers, was Michael Holding and Jeff Thompson.
Right, yeah.
Definitely the quickest. But I mean, Dennis Lilly was a great bowler, but even quite as fast as Jeff Thompson or Michael Holding. Andy Roberts was a great bowler. I think I opened the batting against Andy Roberts more than Jeff Boycott.
And of course, no helmets were there in those days?
No helmets, no.
So you were.
Well, it was Wayne Daniels and a number of others. But I remember in my last year playing against, I think it was the last year, playing against Wayne Daniels with a helmet.
Yeah.
And it seemed to make a big difference.
Right.
But that was just when they were coming in. And then, lots of, not lots, but I had the utmost difficulty playing Bishan Beatty.
Did you? Right.
I thought he was a very good bowler.
Yeah.
And there was a whole plethora really.
Yeah.
Good bowlers. Derek Underwood.
Yeah.
And he was always difficult to get away. And I suppose just trying to think who the others were, but so many names really.
Yeah. And what about from a Somerset perspective? Who did you enjoy keeping to best?
Oh, I think with
days?
In a way, I suppose I'd say T.W. Cartwright.
Right, you used to stand up to him, didn't you?
Yes, yeah, mostly. Not always, not if it was a really rain-affected wicket, perhaps. But 9 times out of 10, yes. But I enjoyed keeping to all of them, really. Some were more erratic than others, shall we say. But Tom was very accurate.
Yeah.
And I always enjoyed keeping it to Budgie as well, because I knew what he was going to do.
Yeah.
And although he was only there a short time, Kerry as well, and Brian Langford. And then, but they all had their merits. So.
And you've obviously batted with Vivian, I'm guessing, quite a few times.
Yeah, I did. Yes.
What was it like standing the opposite end, watching a masterclass like that?
Well, I remember we were playing Gloucester once at Weston, and he had 60 odd, and I had 60 odd because I'd opened. So he caught me up easy enough, and he came up to me and he said, "Shall we both get hundreds today?" 2 overs later, we're both out. I said, "You well said, Viv," but that was just one of the funny things. But no, well, I'm also lucky enough to play with Sonny Gavaskar.
Were you? Yeah, because he was here for a season, wasn't he?
And he was. I remember batting with him at the Oval for some time, and my old pal Pat Pocock was bowling, and Sonny said, "Don't hit him for too many fours. We want to keep him on." Just 1 and over. Because he's a great player of spinners.
Yeah.
And I think he 90 or 100. But Sylvester Clark was, he's another one. Sylvester Clark.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of his balls were faster than the other ones, shall we say.
Yeah.
Not making any
implications.
Absolutely
no, indeed.
But, so we didn't want him to stay on, but he did, unfortunately. And Jackers was there, of course. He was always trying very hard.
Yeah.
But Sonny was. It's a good experience playing cricket with him, and I think that 1980 was the last of the uncovered wickets. Mm-hmm. And Vivian played, but he'd also toured with the West Indies that year, so he played it towards the end and at the start, I think. And Sonny played most of the games in between. So, very lucky to play with 2 such great players. And but the King was the best to played against, Gary.
Yeah.
When he played for Nottinghamshire.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. And we played a Sunday league game, I think, at Taunton, and we got a reasonable score. Got a couple of early wickets, and Gary came in. And it was September. It was dark, and he just hit them all round the ground. Game over. Got about 18 out in the dark.
So he would be probably the greatest player you've ever.
Well, all round cricket, he could do it. Open the bowling, slow left arm. He could bowl everything, catch everything, and supreme batsman. So, I mean, there's been a lot of good all rounders, obviously, but I would say he's a standout.
And 40 years ago, you packed your bags and went off to Australia.
That's right.
What have you been doing with yourself since then, Derek?
I've been pretty busy. I've been busy coming back. Come back about 20 times.
Yeah.
But initially I joined Consolidated Press with through Tony Gregg in Sydney, and I was there for about 6 or 7 years, and then that changed, and then was on my own for a couple of years, and then had the opportunity to go to Queensland from Sydney, and we made the move in '91, and end of '91, and we've been there ever since. Right. And but I retired from actual working in about early about 2005.
Right.
And now I was in real estate then.
Right. Right.
I did some coaching, did a bit of coaching with the Queensland, the QCA, with Barry Richards was the CEO at the time.
Right.
But he's long retired from that. And then since, I've been retired for the last 17 years. Yeah.
And do you keep in touch with people back here?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And you always seem to come back regularly, enjoy your time back here.
Indeed. Yeah, we do. And still summer, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. Living in Somerset's always summer.
That's right. No, but it's very hot earlier on.
Yeah, it has been.
But we've had a lot of rain in Australia, but on the east coast, so it's very pleasant. But it's also you've had enough rain here. Yeah. You like everything green, and the leaves aren't even off the trees yet.
No, we're still into the
summer. No, very nice.
So you never regretted coming down to Somerset back in 1970?
Oh no, not at all. No. I've always had a connection now, and the name.
Absolutely. Well, Derek, thank you very much indeed for talking to us today.
Okay, Richard.
And always a pleasure to talk to you and see you back at Somerset.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks
Derek. Thank you.